What's up, humans? Welcome back to the Clarifiers. Today we're on day 3 of learning how to practically reprogram your mind, how to catch your programming. And Anthony will be coming on live, and we're going to be going through an interesting little shift. Okay, he just waved at me, and we'll be getting him on. There you go. Go live with Anthony. Join, and here we go. Woohoo!
What's
Welcome,
up, everybody?
welcome. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing well. Cannot complain whatsoever.
What are you
Yourself?
drinking? What are you drinking there?
I got my evening chamomile tea. I alternate between Sleepy Time, which is a blend I really like, and just regular chamomile. You know, keep myself calm and steady because it's 8 p.m. EST, and I got work tomorrow early. So, yeah, that's what I'm sipping on.
I'm just downing some hot milk. That's
Mild.
milk. Remember that?
Yeah.
So, again, welcome, guys. Today, we'd like to introduce ourselves first. So, Anthony, will you take the mic on that one?
Yeah, so my name is Anthony Desatnikov. I live in Albany, New York. And to summarize what I am, I'm a student of life. I've always been a curious and interested individual since I was a young kid, and I've done a whole plethora of work and jobs in the past. Currently, I'm doing construction work. I am an assistant project manager for a custom home building company in Saratoga Springs. But yeah, so that's me.
Awesome. Ooh, excuse me. The thing about being at home, you're always like burping, living life normally, and then you're like, wait a minute, the public is watching. Yeah,
I got hiccups, so.
my name is Alexey, and I love helping people understand things. And one of the best ways you can do that is through mentoring. And I love to learn things and then share with people how I learned and how I made sense of things. And that's what today, yesterday, the day before, and the next 11 live videos are all going to be about. It's not me teaching anything. I'm just sharing with Anthony, he's my nephew, the things I'm learning and how I'm learning them and how I'm actually making sense of them, not just because I could get information like crazy and then be like, oh, what do I do with it? That's in a nutshell who I am and what I like to do, and that's what Clarifiers is. The Clarifiers is all about. It's helping people understand, and today it's about understanding your programming, how to actually practically understand what is your current programming in your mind, how to catch it, and most of our programming holds us back. How do we catch it, and how do we use our life experiences for our benefit, our gain, and our progress? And that's what today's video is about. Yeah, any questions on that, Anthony? Any need for clarification on that one?
No, pretty straightforward. Let's dive in.
Yes, that's me, Kitty. Oh boy, I think I just lost my piece of paper. I'm just thinking, I'm blanking out. Hold on a second, Anthony. You mind taking over the stage? I'll be right back. I think it's on my bed.
Yep. So it's been a long evening, or 48 hours for me. So yesterday after our live video, I was just in that flow state, and I had so much clarity and so much energy that sleeping was not really going to happen. So I was like, I got to use this sleeping time to do something. So I ended up working on this all of last night. It's a ether coil generator, but yeah, Alexey's back, so let's get back into it. You got your paper?
Oh, it was. Oh, it was right in front of me. I got so excited. Okay, yes. Here we go. So yesterday we went into the process. We were talking with Anthony, and we're going to be guys posting these live on Instagram. On YouTube. And so yesterday's video is going to be posted today because we're still trying to figure this out. So if you want to relearn or go through this material again, you can check it out on The Clarifiers. That's the name of the YouTube channel. I think that's about it for knowledge or information I want to share with you. I'm going to flip my camera. I'm going to give you an overview of what we are generally talking about. When trying to understand what is your programming inside of your brain there and try to catch it, there's two parts. There's part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is just an overview of what the process looks like. Part 2 is actual steps. And so the actual step, I'm going to flip the camera back over. I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like. And in the YouTube description, all this will be up there, so you will be able to actually take your notes. The gist of this process is when you feel down, when you feel bummed, when you feel out, and you don't want to do something, that is a great gauger in your life, just like a gas gauge when it starts going to empty, or the car overheating and starts redlining. Those gauges aren't bad. They're great. We get to use them and use them to our advantage, not for our destruction. So once we learn how to do that, we can, practically in our life, we can take the quote-unquote negative experiences in our life, and guess what? We can actually start using them to our advantage. As
Flip
Anthony
the script.
Yep. Flip the script. Instead of it taking you down, it's going to take you up. And that's what old programming is usually like. It holds us back. Like, look at your life. If you're not successful in health, wealth, love, and happiness in your life, then most likely there's programming holding you in your mind, holding you back. This process is all about getting into those programs, finding them out, clarifying them, reframing them, and using them as a positive force to push you forward instead of hold you back. In the last 2 days, we went over just one type of programming, which is the past negative experiences with Anthony. Just kind of giving you bringing you up to date, guys. Today, instead of actually going into one of the 6 types of programming or going through the 6 steps, I wanted to share with Anthony and with you guys, where does programming come from? Where does different types of programming come from into our mind? Why would we want to know that? So that we can start being aware of where thoughts are coming into our mind.
So essentially, if I'm understanding correctly, it's becoming aware of the thoughts being generated so that you can apply filters if necessary.
Yep. So if you could look at my head right now and just draw a line here, right? And this is, my neck is a line as well. Yep. So this part of my brain, like, there we go. My glasses is the line. This part of my brain is my conscious brain, right? This is where I see, smell, taste, hear. This is where I touch things. That's where my sensory information comes in here. And only 5% of that information that comes in during the day actually dictates what I do. So if I feel hungry, I go eat. That's like part in that 5%. If I smell somebody or something that's nasty, I'll turn away, run away, the kind of thing. But 95% of the other things that we do is in our subconscious mind, okay? So when we want to change, we can't change by changing how we think. We have to change how our brain is functioning. That's what we refer to as programming, or as Bob Proctor talks about, paradigm. And it's our paradigm, our programming, that really runs our body and what we do. Like, have you ever found yourself doing something and you're like, why the heck did I do that? Or why do I keep on doing that kind of thing? Like,
Yeah, when you're just lost in thought, running on autopilot, and you miss an exit because you weren't thinking, you were just kind of driving on muscle memory, or you're just walking somewhere in the house to get something and you totally forget, and you just kind of start going on autopilot somewhere, and then you realize, wait, why am I in this room?
Yep.
And I don't need anything here.
And just to, a lot of times I've heard people just saying, oh, this is so wishy-washy spiritual. No, it's not, guys. Let me give you a practical example. If we're walking down the street, if Anthony, you and I are walking down the street and we're talking, who's doing the walking? Who's doing the breathing? That is what's called our subconscious mind. We don't have to think about walking. That's done automatically. That's a habit, or subconscious mind is also called our habits. It's our habit structure, and 95% of our life is run on habits. And so the trick is to what I want to, Anthony, because I'm actually, guys, explaining this live to Anthony. This is not rehearsed. What we're going to do today, Tony, is instead of going into one of the type of programming and like simplify it and reframe it as a positive experience, I just want to focus on what ways, remember the conscious brain, in what ways does information come into our mind. Once we kind of start clarifying this, once we actually go through this process, right after this conversation, your brain is going to be like thinking, if an idea comes into your mind, you're going to be like, oh, this is not me thinking it. This is how that information is coming in. And then you can actually take that bit of information and
It's like you're
kind of,
installing antivirus and you're blocking the
yeah.
virus from getting in.
The first step to change is realizing what's happening. Okay, you can't just change on a dime. You have to understand what's happening first. And so let's go through this process. You wake up, right?
Hmm.
What's the first thing that starts coming? What are the first things that start coming to your mind?
Um, I guess the first thing would be like, what time is it that I wake up on time type of deal. After that's confirmed that yes, I'm up at the correct time, usually my first inclination to something I realize I got to work on is I want to check social media. Did I
Okay,
get any messages?
write that down. So one of the thoughts that you have is that the thought of which creates your desire to go check out social media.
So morning thoughts, I'll categorize it as that. Time, and then after time is check social media.
So just write down number one. That's your first one. Okay, say that thought just went in. You gave it a thought. You did check your social media, or you didn't check it, regardless of what happened. What's the next thing? You're just out of you're in bed or just got out of bed. What's the next thing you're thinking?
Go to the bathroom, because my bathroom's downstairs, so I have
Okay,
to go down. So that's
so
usually
that's like a
the
must
next.
do.
Yeah,
Something
and
you
that's
must
actually where
do.
I usually check my social media. Is I'll go to the bathroom and then I'll sit there and check my social media just to kind of catch up.
So the
Um,
second type of thought that's coming into your mind, let's categorize that as a must do's. Because right after you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth. You're like, okay, I gotta brush my teeth. Okay, I gotta brush my hair. I gotta do this. I gotta do
well,
that.
reverse the order a bit. I go eat breakfast first, then I brush my teeth. But
That's we're looking at thought
irrelevant.
processes here. So like
Must
breakfast,
do.
go eat breakfast is part of the must do's, must
So
do thought.
bathroom. So bathroom, breakfast, and then pack my lunch for work. Those are all must-dos that like that's the first thing I'm thinking about after I've checked the social media. So bathroom, breakfast, work, lunch.
Yep. Now after you're out of now you've just taken breakfast and you're heading out. What thoughts are coming through your mind now?
Um, so that'd be point three, right?
Yes.
So usually the thoughts that would follow up there are, where work related stuff. Where am I going? Am I on time? So
Okay. Yep. So this is what let's categorize that as the day's musts. Like what you must do that day.
okay, so plan work schedule, I guess you could say, because my schedule usually changes up and going to different places. So it'd be planned
Yeah.
work schedule.
Yeah. Call it whatever you want to. I just call them the day's musts, like actual things you have to do to keep your life going. But nonetheless, those are thoughts that are coming into your mind.
I'd be on time. Okay, so I got the day's musts for
While
work.
you're eating breakfast, if you're not on social media, what kind of thoughts come into your mind?
Um,
Generally speaking, kind of looking like let's don't be getting specific. Oh, I'm thinking about itching
no,
my ears, but
usually in the morning, I find that if I'm not on social media, I'll just have music going, and then I'll just kind of get lost in the music and just kind of focus on trying to enjoy the moment, like enjoy my food, and might think about what the weather's like outside, or if I woke up in a good mood, I'll be thinking about what I want to get done that day. So if I woke up in a kind of funky mood due to a dream or something, I might be thinking about the dream during breakfast. And then also a lot of times during breakfast, my mom or someone in my family will ask questions. So that results in sometimes that my thought process is being interrupted. So that's a factor too.
Okay. One thing that one of the things that for me that happens is not every day, but quite often is I get old experiences that come to my mind or memories. Completely unwilled, they just enter your mind. And you're like, and then you start entertaining them. So this is like an information flow that comes in.
I could say
Before,
occasionally I would get that too sometimes. Something triggered or I have a dream with someone from the past that I haven't seen in a while. So yeah, then I'd be thinking about past events while I'm sitting eating
yep.
breakfast.
Again, right now we're not judging any of these. We're just kind of we're bringing them out to the open, and so that we're aware of these types, and then we'll be talking about them. Now you're in the car. You're driving to work. What do you turn on?
I always turn on my music. I plug in my phone into the cable, and then I have some usually like instrumental type music playing, sometimes rap. And then I have a 45-minute commute to work. Lately, though, I've been switching it up by listening to podcasts. So kind of, I go between the two. If I'm feeling like I want to learn some information, I'll listen to a podcast. But if I'm looking to just kind of vibe out for the ride, I'll just turn on some music.
So podcasts. This is where you're starting to willfully put information in. Some people, for you, it's podcasts and music. For me, usually it's if it's not music, it's watching a YouTube video on some kind of content like SpaceX.
I've done that
Yeah,
too occasionally. Some interviews by what is it? Patrick Bet Davis. He has a bunch of
yeah.
really
So it's
cool
like stuff
interviews.
like this. So
Yeah.
there's you're putting information into your mind. Like other people when they come down for breakfast, because I know you don't have this, but here in the house where I live, in the last couple of places where I lived, you walk downstairs and you see a fresh newspaper on it, on the table, or the news running, or when we're in a car, we'll listen. People typically listen to the news, or like us, we typically listen to music, or we choose the news we want to hear.
No, yeah, I definitely. That's actually why I'm been cutting down on how much social media I'm on, because it's just like it's no different than a newspaper. It's just the modern equivalent of it. And at the end of the day, I realized you have to. The law of attraction is always working at whatever you're focusing on. So it's like anything that's taking away your focus from creating what it is, the life that you want, is best left either completely out or in moderation. So in this case,
Yeah.
social media has a benefit, so I don't completely
No.
cut it out, but I digress.
So there's news coming in. Then there's social media that you already said. While you're listening to the news or flipping through social media, what happens in between those things, between posts or pages?
Um,
What happens when you watch a YouTube video and then all of a sudden what pops up?
ads.
So as we're consuming any kind of information purposely, all of a sudden we get information just like whew, put into us through, I just called it sales.
Algorithms, it's what it is, really.
Well, I specifically mean sales because somebody's trying to sell you something. So they're trying to sell you a thought, a product, or an idea.
Hmm.
When you what you're calling algorithm, that's the process itself.
Okay, I see where you're
You see
coming
the
from there.
difference? So yes, the answer is yes to what you said. What we're looking for is just what is the information flow. So when it comes to sales, somebody's trying to push something on you to get their stuff. Does it make sense?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So then, as you're through a given day, how much? See, I don't know how to coax this one out of you, or how to lead this one, but you might be listening to stuff, and especially during election seasons, want to or not, you're going to start hearing politicians pushing their message onto you through some way, any way they possibly can.
I simply don't listen or watch any news anymore. Like whenever I see anything in my poster feeds, I skip over it purposefully or I'll block it because I personally found from listening to news, it pisses me off and it frustrates the hell out of me because um, there's missing logic that's not grounded in common sense to me, in my personal opinion. And I realized listening to that information is not conducive to me going out and doing stuff and creating. So, but I will say one thing that I've been having to work on, that I've been actually deleting accounts on social media. There are people that post what you could say is positive content, content that, you know, encourages, uplifts. And there are those that post just negative content that will catch your attention. It might have a fear factor involved or whatever it is. But so I think that's the one interesting thing with social media is you can actually tailor it for positive news, depending on who you follow. But that's definitely something that I've been aware over the past year or two, very like cognitively, and I've been like working on filtering it out as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah, so that's like actual practical steps those are practical steps to take that you're mentioning. So that's good stuff. So now you're going to social media, you see sales, then as much as we want to avoid politics, politics are going to get into our life some way or somehow through some method because that's how our government or our lives are run. And so people are always trying to, this is one other method that people are trying to, or information is trying to come into our mind, is through politics. It could be as simple as a dinner conversation about, what do you think about what Trump said about Lysol yesterday? And you're like, dang it, I can't avoid it. Or something like this. It's like it comes in, but all of that is under this source of politics. And then, like you said, Anthony, you went to breakfast, and then you have the other one. You're having breakfast with family. And my friends, it's roommates or friends. Then you have thoughts coming in. It's like through family, friends, and roommates. That's another flow of information coming into our mind.
Yeah, that's a big one. Specifically, if you live in a communal environment, you cannot always completely filter out certain information. But
Yep.
what I've been realizing is, at least with my family, like when things start getting political, because there's a lot of disagreements on certain things, I'll just be like, please, let's not talk about this. Or if they do want to talk about it, I just simply leave.
Yep.
Because it's not a topic that I'm going to waste my energy or time on, because from past
Yeah.
experience, it always ends up being that circle, that loop. Everybody, one person says one point, the other person says the other point, and you just go back and forth, and it kind of escalates between, you know, pitch intensity depending on what you're talking about. And it's just like, I'm tired of that. It's a waste of time. So I guess what I've realized is if you're in a situation where you cannot control the other people, family, roommates, what you can control is yourself. Leave. If you can't leave far enough, I own a pair of these Bluetooth, you can get wired in-ear headphones. They completely block out the sound from everything when you have music or audio playing. So if you can't like physically leave into another building or go somewhere, put on
Yep.
some music or some content that's uplifting you, and just that's my technique to really filtering what's coming in from other people around me.
Yeah. So you got your family, friends, and roommates. That's another flow of information that comes in. Hey Tony, do you know how I can get rid of the all the comments that are over your face?
Um,
Because they
no,
were? No?
no, I'm not familiar with how live works and disabling comments and stuff. It's
Oh,
fine though.
okay. Okay, so then once you, and I'll jump into this one. So you got your family, friends, and roommates. Then you have where you go to school or where you go to work, and then you have, that's another place. I'll just I put those down on my paper as school and work, because you go to work, you hang around with these people all the time, and guess what? Who you hang around with, you become. It's just a law of life. So when you're at work and your friends or your coworkers, you don't have to even like them. They're going to start affecting you, impacting you. Then that's another flow of thought coming into your mind. The other one is religious institutions. That's a big one. Again, I say religious institutions, that covers the whole world of religion. Like, I grew up in a church, going to church at least a couple times a week. Since the law is who you surround yourself with, you become, hence I went there a couple times a week, and guess what? I valued what they valued, I thought what they thought, I said what they said, I believed what they believed. So that's a huge another place. And then
I think for religious institutions, you can even broaden it to any clubs or social.
Yeah, religious institutions and clubs, like groups, clubs. Yeah, I like
Clubs,
that. I
groups.
really like that.
Because it's the same essence like of a country club. There you have to pay to get in, whatever, but it's the same
Yeah,
gist of it.
yeah, because again, the principle is if you surround yourself with these people, that's another flow of thought. Because people in a club, I might be part of a Christian individual, but I go to a golf club. So the people, what they believe and what they think is different than what the people I know what believe in church. Again, that's another. Those are flow of thoughts coming in. The other one I put down is your culture and society. I put them in one, but they are very two different things. Let me give you an example. My culture that I grew up in said, you do not date before 18, but you have 3 kids by 20, and you're married. Yeah. Whereas society that I grew up in this American society is, you should eventually at some point get married and have kids and get a house. That's what society says. So that's the American society. My culture says you get married by 20 and have at least 3 kids. Now, it's not written
You
anywhere,
guess what
but
ethnicity it is?
anything that's not American.
Basically.
The rest of the world believes this. In America, it's like, take your time. It's not a crime. Yeah. And so, and then there's all these different flows of thoughts coming in without us checking them. And if you don't check yourself, you wreck yourself. I like that statement. But remember that, so in my mind, you have the conscious mind, and then you got your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is running, all this information is coming in. They say that 90%, around 90% of the thoughts we think are the same as the previous day. So some say even higher, like meaning we have very few original thoughts that originate every day. And so all these different avenues that thoughts are pouring into my brain, guess what? They don't go through my conscious mind. They go instantly into my subconscious mind. And then the subconscious mind is what triggers how we feel. Because how we think, if we're not conscious about the thinking, our subconscious catches it, and then we feel nervous. For example, Anthony, you might be thinking, give me an example, homie. When was the last time somebody said something and you just, boom, got triggered and got pissed off? Or, on the other hand, got super excited?
Earlier today, it's ironic you're asking, but it happened earlier today. Somebody was picking on somebody else, and they were doing it in a very kind of manipulative, kind of narcissistic way, and I was just like, I snapped. I was just like, that's not cool. And then it proceeded to get into a little heated argument, you could say.
Yeah.
But, so yeah.
That right there is a perfect example of a flow of thought came into your mind. It completely negated your conscious mind, triggered your subconscious mind, and you just naturally reacted to it. So it was a thought came in, boom, it triggered you because this part of your brain is not, and that's for most of us. For me, this is the same thing for me. A couple days ago, I walked downstairs and somebody was watching the news, and I was just like, they said that, again, I don't care for, well, I do care for politics, but what's going on, government politics, I hear on the news that this one guy just blatantly said that all Republicans are stupid. And I'm like, that's funny because I'm pretty sure there's stupid people everywhere. And I found myself just about to start getting angry. And I'm like, hold on a second, Alexey. Why are you getting frustrated? This guy, this guy is having control over how I feel. And so within a few seconds of that, I just turn around and walk away because I'm not going to turn off the news because whoever was watching it. And so it's very easy to get into that mode of information flow just comes in, and it's something we have to train our brain to say stop. But even in that case, for me, it very quickly just goes, whoom, jumps right through my conscious, right into my subconscious, and trigger my feeling. But when
Now, my
I,
event, it was interesting because it was definitely a subconscious trigger because as I spoke up, and then I'm trying to explain like how it's not cool. I was having a hard time wording it using my conscious brain, but just like deep down, I knew that what was happening wasn't right, and it took me like a good minute or two to be able to actually verbalize it first. So
yeah,
I see what you mean by like it just jumps straight down and goes into the other operating mode of the subconscious instead of conscious.
yeah. So see, this is pretty much the, if you don't think, if we don't think, others will think for us. And these are just a few of those, some of the different ways that thoughts come into our minds. And so now that like we brought it out there, we're aware of this. Next time a thought comes into your mind, like I've been doing this yesterday, I was just sitting like a few times, and we'll have this throughout the day until we become a different person, become a different brain. But a thought came into my mind. I'm like, where the heck did that just come from? And then I think about it. I'm like, oh, it was a thought from this source. I did not originate that thought. It's someone or something trying to enter. So by someone or something, like for example, I was sitting and then I pick up my phone. I needed to text somebody, and then I texted them and I'm like, oh, let me check Instagram. I checked Instagram and then there was an ad. And then I clicked on the ad and downloaded this app for video editing. And then I'm sitting there. I'm like, I look at the time. I'm like, 10 minutes just disappeared. I was like, where the heck did that thought come from? So I realized that, okay, this desire for social media, that craving, initially, yes, it came in. Well, initially the thought was originated, I need to text somebody. If I just did that and put the phone down, that would have been cool. But no, it goes from, okay, I originate the thought that I need to text somebody because they need this information. And then a desire triggers my brain, okay, I want to check Instagram. That's where I should have stopped it. And then I wouldn't have lost 10 minutes of my life. And then deleting that program because it was not useful for me, I realized. And so it's like a thought originates, I act on it, and then something like social media, which is a thought that comes into you because people want you to use it, I realize it's somebody else's will. And I was playing along with it. And so after I put my phone down, I was like, okay, I'm not trying to make myself stop using Instagram. But what I thought was, okay, somebody's desire was for me to go on Instagram. So that is an outside thought that came into my mind because somebody wants me to do it. Do I want to play along with that thought? I'm not judging it as good or bad. I just asked myself, do I want to play along with it? And I was like, no, I don't, because it detracts from what I want to achieve. And then the next 3 times I had the desire to open Instagram, I picked up the phone. I was like, no, that's not my thought. There's no use. I got to focus on what I'm doing. And that's one of the things I wanted to really, is the point. If you, I could hear you, Anthony, you're like, so how could you summarize all this? I have it written down here is, who is in control, you or other thoughts? I'm a big proponent of not judging things, not calling them positive or negative. Like in this case, it's just, it is what it is, accept it, make a decision, and then act on it. The question is, who is in control? You or others of your thoughts?
Yeah. And you know what I really like about that, because since we function off of our subconscious, you know, statistically they say roughly 95% of the time, that means that the only way you'll be able to catch your subconscious reactions to certain thoughts is to be consistently paying attention to your thoughts, which actually ties into what some people might call more spiritual or like out there kind of stuff, but meditation. If you look at the definition of the word meditation, it's to become aware of. You can meditate on the work you're doing. You can meditate on music. You can meditate on a beautiful scenery, as long as you're just fully paying attention. So the key is to realize you got to ask yourself who's in control, because if it's you, that means you have to pay attention to all your thoughts coming in, so that as like this process of figuring out where they come from, so that when you get these thoughts, you at least can kind of trace back where they're coming from, find the root, and decide, is this conducive to me and to what I am trying to achieve? Not is this bad or good, but is this conducive to what my intent currently is? And then you begin to take different, you respond to the stimuli instead of reacting just off your subconscious mind. But that's basically the only way. I mean, even from personal experience, I'm thinking about it, it's really easy to allow yourself to go into that mode where you think the voice in your head is just you talking to yourself. But it's realizing that that voice that you think is you, that sounds the same, is actually thoughts and things from all these different sources that we wrote down, and many more that aren't mentioned here, but these are just like the main ones for simplification. So it's just like the only way you're going to be able to address it is to realize that you are in control and pay attention to the thoughts that come. It's like when I wake up in the morning, what thoughts am I having? Like, I'm just thinking back to check Facebook. The thought, or Instagram thought, is like, I wonder if somebody messaged me or if I need to check something important, because it's the self-rationalization I tell myself, like, or maybe someone needs me or trying to contact me. In reality, it's the dopamine we get from seeing the likes and the interaction. It's a quick fix in the morning. And if you didn't go to bed on time, it's very easy to gravitate towards that. But the thought is actually kind of tricky now I'm thinking about it. It's not a bad thought. Like, what if someone did message me? But then it's like, would it matter if I first waited for an hour and just started my routine without any social media, got my morning and headspace right, and then went on it? But so it's like, and then that's where it becomes really important, I'm now seeing, to decide and have a morning routine, so that like when you wake up and you're still kind of sleepy, you don't let some thoughts from somewhere slip in and start you off on a bad foot, because
Yeah,
that's elemental.
I like how you said that. It's like, social media is great. I think it's a magical tool for society today. And I wrote a whole, like, a 12,000 word document on this. Social media is a great tool for society. It's just we have to be aware. Again, I'm reiterating what you just said, Anthony. It's cool because social media is a great tool we can use. We just have to be aware of, once we get on it, there's going to be thought flows coming from other people's posts, what they want you to think of them.
That's
Then
literally what
there's
social media is. It's the sharing
sales.
of ideas.
Exactly, exactly. And that's very important for society so large, so many people in this world. We need that quick connection. So it's a great tool. But once we go on it, we got to be aware of that. Thoughts are going to start permeating our brain. Again, it's neither good nor bad. It just is what it is. That's the tool. It's an information station. So people's information about their life comes in. All of a sudden, advertisers come in. And then all of a sudden, it triggers feelings. And boom, you're not in charge. Others and other people and other things, other companies, other individuals who don't care to be in charge of you, all of a sudden you give them the right to be in charge of you. And they never even know about it.
And to top it off, too, if you think about it, if we've been paying attention, almost every 2 to 3 posts is a sponsored thing nowadays on Instagram alone. So that
Yeah.
means in the morning while I'm scrolling through, I could potentially see 5 to 15 ads, depending on how long I'm sitting there, within a couple minutes. And it's like, those ads are tailored off the algorithm of things that they think you'll like. but there's obviously going to be stuff that might not be conducive for achieving the goals you have for that day. They might make you think about something that throws you in for a loop, and it's just like, wow, you don't really think about it, but it's like, it's powerful.
Yeah. So like the overall picture, if like to zoom back and see what's happening, it's really understanding that you're the author of all your experiences, tying in yesterday and with today. It's first believing it and then knowing that you are the author of every single experience you create in your life. Now, because thoughts become things, that's why you are the author. You think about something and then life has a way of making it happen. Now, the experience itself might not be what you wanted, but the end result will always eventually get there based off of what you think. And today, what I'm sharing with you, Tony, or whoever's listening, is these ways. There's like what in just our conversation today. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 different flows of information coming into our mind. It's starting to recognize them more and more and more as the days go by, and always ask yourself, was this my thought or was this somebody else's thought being pushed into me? And the more we become aware, guess what? The more we become aware, and then, only then, can we start reprogramming our brain, because once we start catching them, then we can do something about them.
Yeah, speaking about that, it's interesting. One thing that I've been doing throughout this past, I've been doing it for a few years, but I've been actually using it these past weeks because I was going through a lot of intense and unpleasant past experiences and things of that sort.
Uh-huh.
Or where I would notice old programming and thoughts come up from back when I used to be really depressed, anxious, and I had suicidal ideations in the past. There were certain thought patterns that I had, and they occasionally pop up because they're very deeply ingrained. And what I've been doing that's been reducing the frequency is, as soon as that thought goes off and I become aware of it, I'll instantly negate that thought by saying the inverse. So it's like, I'm tired, or like, I don't feel like doing anything, and what do you call it? What would be a good example? I don't feel like doing anything, and I feel crappy, and then it's just like you start telling yourself that I'm no good. You start creating this narrative in your story to basically, and what I realized, it's trying to self-justify not doing anything. So what I'll have to do is I'll interject those thoughts with the opposite to make sure that I'm affirming to myself, to my subconscious mind. And it's like, essentially, it's on the fly reprogramming, where as soon as a thought comes up, I state a thought over it if I feel that it's not in alignment with who I'm trying to be and what I'm trying to accomplish. So I think that's like a good gauge. I realize is like, you'll know a thought isn't conducive because it doesn't feel good. Your body's ability to feel is based off of every previous generation of DNA in you, information all encoded in your cells. So it's like, when you get a bad feeling about something or a situation, it feels off, and you didn't listen, and you later found out that there was a reason you felt that. So it's like, in the same way, I realized when we have an experience or we have a thought before the experience happens, a thought, if that thought doesn't feel good, write over it, rewrite it right away on the fly, like a programmer, correcting a bug in a software that they're launching, and then fix it with what you actually are trying to be and who you are. So
Yeah. And that's what that, like yesterday and the day before that, that's there is an actual step-by-step process on how to reprogram it, and how to use it to your advantage instead of disadvantage, which is the six-step process, which we'll go back into a little more tomorrow. But yeah, in context, or in the general gist today, to leave you with a question is to leave me with a question, thinking, who is in control, you or others, of my thoughts? Am I in control, or am I letting other people get into my brain? And then every time you get a thought, like next thought you get, Tony, think between right now and tomorrow's live, let's. I'm going to think about one, and I'm going to go through that because we naturally are going to have thoughts, and just like question them, and let's share a few tomorrow.
I already know one. I just remembered it, and it's one that
Yeah.
it's a reoccurring thought. I can't do this. It's that one line, and I've had it since I was a little kid, where it's like, something starts getting difficult, or you start getting a little frustrated, or something popped up that got in the way of your work, and that first thought, the default one that wants to run out, I can't do this, and it just makes me want to throw everything down like a kid in a tantrum and just walk away. So that's one thought that we can go over tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll think about it. Well, a thought will come in today. Well, I shared my Instagram one. That was a thought. It's like initially I have my thought, and I've noticed that's a pattern. I have a thought to do something, and I need to use my cell phone, and then I just let it slip into letting other people's thoughts come into me, and that's where I need to be a lot more aware of when do I get this desire, at what point, and then make sure that when that point comes, I set myself up to succeed and put the phone down after I achieved what I needed to achieve instead of getting on there and wasting 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour later kind of thing.
Yeah, I know for me, I've been listening to Charlie Rocket, and in his Quantopia, he has a Get Your Morning Right kind of mixtape thingy where it's like a really short, it's like 5 or 10 minutes long, but high energy, gets you in the right headspace. And I did it one of these mornings, and I didn't do social media. And that day started off so much better than every other day. So I think it's to kind of put it for everybody, it's a lot easier to stop the addiction of something by not just trying to replace it, or and not trying to get rid of it, but you have to replace it with something, another habit in of a sense, because a vacuum in space can't exist. It's going to rush to fill it back in. So it's like, I know for myself, when I've tried to do that in the past without replacing it, you might last a couple days, maybe a week, and then you will slip right back into your old default programming because you're
Yep.
not rewriting the program. You're just like temporarily freezing the program in a sense. So
Yeah. So
that's
we'll
that's
get
what.
back into the actual reprogramming, what the steps look like tomorrow again.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well,
Start
I think that
figuring this
wraps it.
out bit by bit.
Yep. Little by little, it's taking these baby steps, and this is one of the reasons why people fail in learning how to reprogram their mind in actual practice is because they get this flood of information and they're like, oh, what do I do? So like yesterday we went over the actual process once. Today it's like we took a step back and hey, just keep your mind out over the next 24 hours on where do thoughts come from. And that's going to be something in the back of your mind now for probably a long time, if not forever. Like always questioning, where does this thought come from? Where does this one? Where did that one? And it's like
You
little
know,
by little, that's how we build it up.
this everything you were saying just brought this up an analogy in my head that was kind of
Uh-huh.
fun. Essentially, it's like if you run into a battlefield of war and you don't have a strategist, it's gonna be like that person who gets all that information and they're just like, too much happening, don't know what to do. There's like that's blowing up, this is blowing up, there's gunshots firing over there. But when you have a trained strategist and a general who is knows the process, knows the systems of how you engage, he can then give the micro steps to the individuals or to the soldiers below him, and it's like in essence learning this process that the clarifiers teaches you is like having that general there guiding you, being like, all right, you're going to want to move up to this position, you're going to want to take care of this. And because when you start getting those, as we're fine tuning things to the simple things, the overwhelming feelings are no longer overwhelming because you can quickly look at all this data and instantly shrink it down into a bite-sizable chunk of information. That's one thing that I noticed when we were going through the process of yesterday's video. The goal is you're trying to write it out, like, at least for me, is I try to write it in one sentence. A simple, like, Einstein's E equals mc squared. The whole, like, this huge concept boiled down to one line. So that's actually where the power comes in, because what stops you from acting when you become aware of the information is the fact that you're drowning in information and you don't know what to do. So breaking it down into something simple is actually the first step that continues on for the rest of the process, I'm now seeing, because it's like it's necessary in order to not feel like you're drowning in information. And why is that important? Because the feeling of drowning in information will cause you to doubt yourself and not believe in yourself.
Yep.
And without those two key ingredients, achieving anything becomes impossible, because you'll always give up before you reach the end goal. I know that's from personal experience. When I didn't believe myself and I doubted, no matter how close we were to succeeding, you'd always stop right before you did.
Yep. Yep.
So it's just like, anyone who is going to watch this in the future, I want to encourage you to find the courage and strength to push through those situations and to actually take the time to learn, because it's painful, but it's worth it. Because once you start simplifying, clarifying things, you have this clarity, and this clarity allows you to move very swiftly, and that's what starts bringing action into your life, builds up that confidence, belief, and eliminates the self-doubt. But yeah, and to kind of wrap up, Tim Bluey, impact theory guy, forgot how to pronounce his last name.
Tim Bilyeu.
Bilyeu, there we go. But he talks about, if you want to build confidence in yourself, it's like you got to do tiny little things consistently each day. So it's like in the same way of, like, if you're trying to reprogram your subconscious mind, go about it in the same kind of principle, a little bit each day. Like, a little paper, do today, tomorrow, and it's like, and now you're slowly decluttering all that info. All of a sudden, you feel more confident to take on the challenges ahead of you. So it's like, that's just my personal experience of going through this. This is day 3 of my exposure to this, and I feel really good. I mean, mind you, I'm on 48 hours, no sleep, and I'm in this interview, and it's just like, boom, it hits me, because the clarity is so refreshing. You feel like you're getting a breath of fresh air, because you're like, I know what to do when you're drowning in information. You typically, there were studies done. If you give too many options to people, a lot of times they just don't choose. They don't know what to choose, or instead, like, they had like 24 something jams, or they had 3 options. It's much easier for people when they have less options and simplified to make a decision, versus when you have an influx of information, which then usually leads to inaction, which is an action in of itself, and that's why you never get results.
Very, very true. So, any closing remarks, Tony? Or
I guess my closing remark would be, take the time to simplify the complex things in your life. It's a lot easier than it seems.
nice. Yeah, for me, it's always lead. Every time you get a thought, lead with the question of who's in control, you or the thought, you or somebody else. On that note, the following week, tomorrow, we're going to be starting an hour earlier, so that's going to be 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. That's 4 p.m. California time and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So
yes,
those are
sir.
the time zones. So we're going to be doing an hour earlier. Our live tomorrow, we're going to be diving right back into the actual process, the 6-step process of how to catch your programs and reprogram your mind. I really hope to see you guys there, because this is some very powerful information to start using in the beginning of your journey of personal development and just the process of starting of achievement. I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining. And like I always like to say, peace.
Peace, brother. Thank you.